Welcome to Urban Homestead Radio, preserving a homegrown way of life and inspiring others to bring the revolution home. Thanks to the support of our sponsor, Lehman's. For over 60 years, they have provided practical, non-electrical tools, appliances, and home goods. When technology fails, their products will certainly work. Check out their website at lehmans.com. That's LEHMANS.com.
Let's go down to the Urban Homestead, Pasadena by the freeway, right down there on the Urban.
Hi Homesteaders, I'm your host Anais Dervaes from the Urban Homestead here in Pasadena. I want to wish everyone a happy fall once again. It's November here in Southern California. Mid-November. Oh wow. I just remembered the 1st of November. Now it's mid-November. That is correct. Yeah. So, I just love this time of year. It's a change of season. Well, it was a drastic change of season. We went from 90 degrees one day on a Friday, and then woke up on Saturday and it was 60, and we just experienced our first frost this morning. So, quite a weather whiplash if you were out west. Some people even got snow. So, and we got our first rain. So, first frost, first rain. So. It's been a chilly couple days. And with all that's been going on, I just reflected this season of how blessed we are to live on a farm, and how the hens and seedlings could care less of the political climate and the pandemic that's going on, because life grows on a farm. And so I want to take that opportunity to reflect on that and how blessed we are to live on a farm with things that are living around us. So today I am joined by my brother Justin. You all know him as head farmer, farm box manager, jack of all trades, and so forth and so on, to get you all caught up on homestead happenings. And so here's what's been happening on our homestead. I want to start off talking about the barnyard and the chickens and the ducks. So in the previous episode, we talked about how we got some baby ducks in the mail finally, because of after 2 years of Newcastle quarantine, we couldn't get any, or couldn't increase or expand our flock because of the Newcastle, and so that was lifted this summer. So we were able to get some baby ducks. And they're 3 months.
Not so baby.
Not so baby anymore. They went from fitting in my little hand to just I can't even tell them. Can't even tell them apart from the older ducks. So I have to do a double take, like, oh, where are they? Because they're just one big happy flock now. So like I said, they integrated well. And speaking of integration with the old and the baby ducks and the older ducks were. I think they were like 7, 8 years old, so they've been on the homestead a while. So there's always, as if you've raised chickens and ducks before, there's always issues when you bring in new hens or chicks and so forth, because there is a pecking order amongst the hens. Like I said, the chickens have their pecking order, the ducks have their pecking order, and then between them they have their own pecking order. So it's always a good thing to be again, not vigilant, but just watch over any integration. And so, of course, when the baby ducks went in, we put them in the chicken run. They were about 2 months old, so they were still young, but they grew fast. And so I noticed that one of the runts of the new batch, her name was Kiwi, so I'm going to refer to her as Kiwi. Kiwi, unfortunately, was a little punk. I don't know. She was the littlest of the 4 of the baby ducks, but she had a big attitude, and she would pick on one of the older ducks. And I think in seeing the dynamics of the ducks, that older duck was in charge of the older flock, the alpha. Yeah, she was the alpha duck of the older flock. Well, Kiwi had to throw her weight around, so she would just go after the older duck. And if you ever seen, chickens peck. Well, ducks, they'll do this thing. They'll take their beaks and they'll grab the neck. So they do this neck grab and they'll kind of shake it. And so Kiwi would go up to, no fear, she'd go up to the older duck and she'd just grab on that and go, and then of course the other duck would be like, hey, you're a little punk, and she would give it right back at her. So the scuffling, I'd monitor it, but it would not go away. And I'm like, okay, guys, settle down. And I could hear them scuffling sometimes when I'm in the yard. So to eliminate that problem, what I did was,
drama.
Eliminate
the drama.
The drama, yes, so I decided that the alpha older duck, since she was older and just she spent her time just sleeping, in the sun most of the time. What I did was I took one of these dog fold up. Dog runs. Yeah, dog runs, but it fold up. It's like a pen thing, but it would fold up. And so what I did, so I did was separate her. Kind of made a little circle around her, gave her food and water, but she could see the other ducks and chickens and be a part of the cohabitation, but not be pecked on by Kiwi. So so she spent about a day and a night. I wouldn't say isolated, but she just Kiwi wasn't allowed to get near. Yeah, well, Kiwi should have had time out, but I kind of protected the older duck. Anyhow, so that was about a day, and then I took down the panel and see how the pecking order would be, and all is well. Happy to say they're all integrated. Just needed a timeout, kind of them to sort out their hierarchy, yeah. So the hen hierarchy, and so all is well, and so that's one of the good news that we to see them all integrated and happy. So yeah, the past
a little bit harder than chickens,
the past 20 years we've had we've adopted hens and had baby chicks, and so integration is always a thing, but we've really had no issues where I've read and heard many times their blood is drawn and it gets ugly, but unfortunately ours are just mildly dramatic. So it's our mild scuffles. So we're happy with that.
Chickens, you just put them in at night? Or?
Yeah, on the chickens, a trick
chickens
that
are
works.
Blind at night.
Yeah, and the ducks see better. So with the chickens, we found that when somebody drops off a hen, actually I just had a lady drop off a hen this week. She actually wasn't getting along with certain members of her flock, and she's like, would you take this chicken? I was like, sure. So she's a copper marin, 6 months old, and I put her in the evening when it was getting dark, and the next morning one of my tricks is to get them to kind of mingle with each other, is give them their favorite treat, which is raisins. And they all came to me, had the raisins with the new chicken, and that was a couple pecks. Like, no, what are you doing here? This is my treats. What are you doing? But they sorted it out within a day. No blood was drawn, and so so that was another great integration. So. We've just had really successful with the integrations. And yes, the chickens and ducks do coexist. They work. Of course, there's different needs for the ducks. They need a little bit access to a water supply, not to necessarily to swim because they are land ducks, but they need to be able to eat and then take in water. So we have a little, what do they call that? A tray.
A concrete mixing tray from Home Depot.
Yeah, so we have one of those I fill up with fresh water. And they do need to clean their feathers, and to do that, they need a bit of water. So, and over the summer, Justin and some interns in the family, we expanded our chicken run and coop area, so it's real nice.
Probably doubled in size.
Yeah, doubled in size. So that's good news, because guess what? No,
we doubled the flock.
Means I'll be doubling the flock. So that's all as well in the animal world here on the homestead. So, and I just enjoy watching them, their personalities, just seeing them.
The breeds and things?
Yeah, I have a lot of breeds. People have said, they're the most beautiful chickens they've ever seen. So
there's a rainbow assortment of colors.
Rainbow of heritage ones. They're just beautiful, and we made it so when the farm box customers come to pick up their farm boxes in the garage, and the garage is right adjacent to the chicken run barnyard area, and there's a window in the garage that kind of looks into that, and so we moved the shelves. Yeah, we moved the shelves a little bit so that when people walk in, they can go peek in and say hi to the chickens and ducks. So that's been a real cool little, it's like, it's finding this little tweaking things that you take advantage of, like, oh, what if we just moved the shelf? People can see into the barnyard, and the kids love it when they come pick up their boxes, and the adults love it too. They just like to sit for a moment, and they don't have to get their feet messy with poop or anything. They just peer into the barnyard and see the animals. I joke, I have my coffee in the morning and watch chicken TV, and duck TV, so it's nice. So it definitely, they are quite entertaining creatures. So yeah, so that's that on the barnyard. And so what's going on in the garden, Justin? Tell us a little bit what's happening there.
I think you touched on it earlier about the weather whiplash. It went from 90 daytime temperatures to 40 nighttime temperatures, and the backyard's 10 degrees colder, so we had our first frost this morning. So in 2 days it dropped to 60, 70 degrees, which is I think we talked about it before. We were caught off guard last year how it got cold on Halloween, and this year we were a little bit more prepared or aware that it could get cold that early. Mm-hmm. So we had the row cover set up, and then for the last week or two, but then we put the plastic 6 mil plastic on top, which helps, and of course the wind blows everything off, so then you have to hold it down, and then we're able to, hopefully I haven't opened them up yet, but it should be okay.
Yeah, so speaking of which, maybe bring people back to what happened last Halloween. What happened last Halloween that was sort of a shock for us?
Yeah, because it was 90 degrees, and then I texted you guys and said, look at the temperature in 2 days, or next week, or what it was, and it said, yeah, it was going to be, I said, that can't be right. I sort of dismissed it because we've been here so long, we knew the backyard was 10 degrees colder, and I dismissed it, and sure enough, woke up that morning, and everything was iced up, and the volunteers come in and said, man, it's cold. It's like, yeah, look at this, and there was black lettuce, and lettuce turned black because it was frozen, and
I think that was one of our earliest frosts I ever remember.
Yeah, so then this time it was Halloween on Sunday, and it was Thursday or whatever, or last week, whatever. Mm-hmm. And we're able to learn from last year. Hopefully, if it's going to be a pattern, a cold snap at the end of October, early November.
So row covers and winterizing the homestead, what does that all entail? Well, I saw people who, we have raised beds, if you've seen the pictures and on Instagram and Facebook. So what is row covers and winterizing the raised beds? So you said, well, how do you do it? You said you have hoops and...
Well, row covers are basically breathable blankets that you put over the raised beds. And depending on the thickness, you can get really lightweight to really heavyweight. They add 1 to 10 degrees warmth. And I got a mid-weight one that allows 70% sunlight and allows the rainwater to get through. Every 3 to 5 years they fall apart, so you have to invest in another batch. The ones I was looking for that we used to have years ago, I couldn't find. There were some clear ones, and they no longer carried. I couldn't find them anymore. We bought them 10 years ago. So they're the white ones that are the most common. Mm-hmm. And basically there's miniature, we turn the beds into miniature greenhouses with these wire
hoops, wire, they call it, they're just size of your pinky.
Yeah, it's very small, basically clothes hanger. You know, you put a wire over the bed, and it makes a 2.5 foot high,
almost like polytunnels, but a mini polytunnel.
A mini greenhouse, mini polytunnel. You don't need to warm air 10 feet tall because all the salad mix is growing, 6 or 12 inches tall for the broccoli and stuff like that. So there's all these metal. The hard part is storing the row covers and the plastic and the wire for the entire year,
just to
use them for the winter. So that's the hardest part, is storage. And so we went from storing the metal and the row covers to now we're storing the trellises for the tomatoes and the cucumbers and squash. So storage is always an issue.
I think I've talked about that before. People say, what's the challenges of homesteading?
But basically it's a wire. You can buy these wire pieces or make these wire pieces. Goes in one side of the bed, goes in the other side of the bed, and you put a row cover on top. And to prevent them from blowing off, you either clothespins or pony clamps, and that helps. And then if it gets really cold, then we put plastic on top of the row covers. The row covers are breathable, so it's not really like what do you call it, weatherproof. But you want that for the rain or if it gets too hot so that they can breathe. When we got too cold last night or the night before, we put up the plastic, and then that's 6 mil plastic on top of the, and then that makes it more frost tolerant. And if it really gets cold and really freezes, then we'll put another layer of poly tarp on top, and then hose everything down and make our little igloo state.
Surprisingly, Pasadena or especially where we are, we have a little cold. I mean, a big cold pocket. Surprisingly, I mean it's.
I can't explain it, but we've been here long enough to know that it's 10 degrees colder in the middle of the backyard. And I was talking to somebody today, and they said about why is it so cold? I was like, I don't know. A friend grew in 4,000 feet, and he had growing lettuce under not covered, and I had to cover mine.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
it's a real microclimate. So that just goes to show you.
The sun angle changes. It's the trees cast shade. The walls, the winds, the buildings,
and the microclimate, because we're so close to the Arroyo Seco, could do something. So that just goes to show you, one yard. I guess people say 1 yard micro or climate or setup or arrangement doesn't always fit everybody's, because everybody's yard is unique. Even in their yard, there's microclimate. So that just goes to show you that you have to really, if you want to start farming or urban farming or gardening in your backyard or front yard, learn the climates, learn the seasonal, the sun angles, where's the coldest part of the yard, where's the driest part of the yard. So it's always good to just take note of what
you can also feel, if you, due to not central air or central heat, you can also feel the temperature drop overnight, and you can feel it, and then that either wakes you up or the temperature when the wind stops.
Whistle.
Yeah, you don't need a frost whistle.
The old time, I don't know if everybody knows that, but the frost whistle. I think it's a novel. But
you can tell there's tricks if it's calm and cold and clear, and it's I think it was 40 degrees at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. The chances are going to freeze. Yeah. So
that's like farmers.
If the clouds are there and the wind is blowing, cool. It's less likely to get cold, but
and we can tell by the sound. Actually, we can tell because when we're outside and there's a change because it calls. I guess it's the clear dark night. There's a barometer. I guess that would say the barometer dropped or whatever. But the sound changes and we pick it up and we know it, and that means we're just like, oh, it's gonna be cold. And people are like, what are you talking about? It's like, no, it's gonna be cold because there's that sound change. It's really. If you just, like I said, if you're in tune with nature and your surroundings, you get good at it. And especially being in a space so long as we've been, we kind of know our microclimate and our climate here. So I mean, it's changing, of course, with global weirding, but certain things don't change when it's, like you said, when it's 10 o'clock. You said
it was like 9 or 10 o'clock is 40 degrees and it's cool and clear. Chances are it's going to get cold. So
you have a little rhyme about that. Is there a rhyme about that? Farmer's Almanac. I have to check that out.
We're still learning, and I think we jumped the gun. I think we talked about it last episode. Was the peas we planted about a month ago.
Oh yeah, talk about the peas. You were like not bragging about them, but they look so
beautiful.
Good. They're beautiful.
I mean, almost 100% germination, and then the heat wave. We had a late October heat wave
with the fires.
And somehow they didn't quite handle the heat very well. They were probably too young, I thought they were on the shaded side of the house, but apparently they got a little cooked. So I had to redo them with favas and replant some peas.
Yeah. So speaking of favas, what are you planting? So we're, like I said, second week or going into the second week in November. So what are you planting?
Planting a lot of lettuce, salad mix. The second batch of salad mix because the first batch is getting big. Broccolini is ready to harvest. Broccoli Rob is coming in. They look beautiful. Although the broccoli Rob surprisingly had bagrata. If we listened to our podcast before, bagrata, these pests that suck the brassicas.
Vampire bugs.
They came in late, believe it or not. We usually have them July, August, and September during the hottest part of the month of the year. This time they came in and they caused... I've never seen so much this late in the year because of the late heat wave. Hopefully the cold weather just killed them off. So
froze their buns.
Yeah. But there was a lot of bagrata damage for being October, November. I was shocked because it was like the broccoli rabe leaves were pockmarked with these bagrata bugs. So that was disappointing. Then because of the heat, and then hopefully the cold weather knocked them down, and the row covers maybe.
Yeah. So you talked about the pest you're dealing with, so that was already discussed. And with Sanjay helping here at the homestead, we talked to him on our last podcast episode. There's better management of the compost and all the green waste, because like we're transitioning from summer to fall or in winter, so there's a lot of green waste. The 10-foot high tomatoes came down. I saw you on Sunday. What were you doing?
We were pulling down the passion vine today because of we used it as passive cooling on the south side of the house. Pull that down so that we can have sunlight in the winter. The sages, the guavas, some of the herbs that get leggy, and I didn't want to cut them back in the heat because they get sunburned. So when it cooled off, we were able to trim back some of the parking strip and the hedge around the property.
So yeah, now's a good time. Well,
that's partial. I mean, maybe a quarter of what needs to be done.
So now's a good time for here, especially here in SoCal, is to kind of prune and do some pruning. So, and then was it Sunday or the other day you checked on the bees. Tell us how the bees are doing.
About 3/4 of them were active and full, and 2 or 3 of them, the ones you could tell by traffic. If there's no traffic in a hive, then there's issues. So there's about 3 of them that had low traffic, and I opened them up, and the queen had stopped laying due to varroa. There were some varroa mites and hive beetles.
That's another vampire bug.
Yeah, wow.
It sucks those.
I got a little behind, so I should have checked them in October, early October. I ended up checking them late October. And when I realized what was happening, I got one of the last shipments of 3 new queens in, and I put them in a couple weeks ago. Or was it last week? I can't remember. But hopefully they will revive those 3 hives that were kind of weak.
Yeah, varroa is pretty nasty stuff, and you've tried powdered sugar, and
it's hard to do naturally, but I didn't do anything, and out of the 10 or 12 hives I had, 3 of them had some issues. Now, I mean, it's still too early. With this cold snap, they could. The rest of them
could be very weak. Yeah.
The rest of them could have issues too, but they look pretty active and pretty full. When you open the top.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a whole, just keeping the bees healthy, a full-time job. It's just like there's one thing having bees, but keeping bees, you got to keep on top of.
Yeah, well, the irony was that the gentlest hives, the gentlest queens were the ones that were more susceptible. So
yeah, well, that's
survival of the fittest,
and that's why there's that issue debate where the feral, and we can go into that another time.
Yeah. The irony was it was the requeened, the most recent requeened ones failed.
Had the issues.
Which is the ones I had it requeened earlier in the year were okay, but the ones I requeened later in the year weren't too good.
Well, it's like I said, it's cold. Justin's bundled up. We have to. I mean, we went from 90 now we're cold, so it's like hats, beanies.
The joke is if I wear socks, shoes, and long pants, it's cold.
Okay, so. You have socks
and shoes,
but you have shorts, so not long pants yet. So we're not. It's not cold.
The night's still young.
Yeah. Speaking of cold weather, soups are back back in the kitchen, getting ready to boost everybody's immunity by making elderberry syrups, which is a favorite here, and then making soups, and especially for the farm boxes, they love the add-on of the soup. So this past couple weeks I've been doing using the butternuts up and making a amazing butternut squash soup. But I wanted to share one of my favorite recipes besides the butternut squash is that how versatile butternut is. You always think of soups or chunks and chutneys or roasted or whatever, or mashed, but there's a yummy alternative to tomato sauce, which is, and a favorite here at the homestead in our family, is a browned butternut pasta sauce. So you brown the butter, you put in your butternuts and onions and pepper and salt, and that recipe is online. But the secret that I found was, and a total game changer, is when you brown the butter, is to add some fresh sage that also browned. OMG, that is like amazing with linguine. So it's just something, an alternative to just your typical, marinara or even pestos and tomato sauce, is the brown butternut pasta sauce. So check that out. There's a recipe online if you Google it. Something to enjoy with the fall weather. There's only certain season to enjoy certain things, and fall is a time to enjoy the winter squash. So I love winter squash and pumpkins. Pumpkin spice. Don't get me started on that. But there's a time and place for pumpkin spice. So I do have to say, I do like it. I could eat a whole pumpkin pie myself. But and then let's see what else has been going on. We have a couple minutes before the episode is wrapped up. Anything else? Oh, right. What new things are you wanting to experiment this fall and winter? Is there things that we plan on doing? What do we plan on doing? I know I touched on that before.
Yeah, we try to maximize the greenhouse space and wheatgrass for the chickens. Do the wheatgrass because they love the greens. So we have a little, I don't want to say self-watering, but a little system set up for the wheatgrass. It didn't do too well in the heat. Hopefully it does better in wintertime. Mm-hmm. And I always have to fight my sister for the greens and keep an eye on what she's picking, because she's always getting into my salad mix, which I sell for $16 a pound.
Who's that?
I don't know. Somebody should remain nameless. Somebody who shall remain nameless is always picking my stuff, so I have to.
You see that the chickens in the
There's a hierarchy.
I know.
They got to take a ticket.
Come on, they just sit there and they're like, "Can we have green, mommy?" I was like,
yes. So
love their
so
greens.
I need the wheatgrass growing so that I can save the salad mix for customers that pay $16 a pound. You could pay $16 a pound.
Oh, speaking of which, so if you do come visit the homestead, and unfortunately it's out of out of tomato season, but the ducks, the new baby ducks, love tomatoes. I think I posted them attacking a tomato on the Facebook, Instagram page, but it's hilarious to watch them. I don't know, they think it's a fish or something. They take it and they squirts everywhere. I think they think they're like hunter call the wild or something. I don't know what they think, but it just goes everywhere. It's so cute. So you will be, if you bring and come say hi to the ducks and bring tomatoes, they will love you forever. And let's see what else. So
did we name all the ducks?
We did. It is Hazel. So we have 2 khaki Campbells and 2 Welsh Harlequins. So the khaki Campbells are Hazel and Kiwi, and the Welsh Harlequins are Cleopatra. And Hot Lips, I think, is going to become Lady Gaga, because she has quite the voice on her. So, and she's she knows she's different and has her. Now, the pig bill turned into it's now yellow, but she still stands out. So, so it's fun naming them. I haven't quite named all the. We have a couple new chickens I haven't quite named. I'm still kind of mulling over some names of what fits them.
Afterward.
I did test afterwards.
We have a podcast on chicken names.
Chicken names. Name this chicken.
Name this chicken.
But they're fun, so and hilarious, and they said they love raisins. So we're winterizing.
Fundraiser for Dad?
Oh yeah, so it was Dad's birthday on October 29th. So to commemorate that, and he passed away in December.
In 4 years.
In 4 years ago. So with that, the nonprofit, we had a board meeting and got approval, or I got
preliminary.
So what we did was I said we could use the outdoor learning kitchen, because with everything being COVID and outside, we there's one section yard we thought perfect for our outdoor kitchen. So we I presented to the board and got approval to go ahead with fundraising for that, in memory of our dad, and how the memories of us as kids, harvesting, going out in the garden, harvesting and preparing amazing food. So in his memory, we put together we call it the outdoor learning kitchen.
GoFundMe or
Yeah,
Facebook
it's on
or?
Facebook. You can donate. You can go to actually our urbanhomestead.org and donate. There's a donate page. You can Venmo. You can send checks. If it is a check, it would have to be to the Urban Homestead Institute, because that's our nonprofit. So if you're interested in sponsoring or funding that, if you can't find it on the internet or at Facebook, send us an email. We'll send you all the details. We're going to hopefully, if we can get around to it, Jordan is working on a new website about that, and the proposal, we're waiting on one of our friends he's going to do like an artist rendition of what the outdoor learning kitchen will look like. So we're pretty excited about that as we grow forward, grow into the future, and especially with this time, that we hope that we are inspiring people and growing hope along with everything that's been going on. So with farming and gardening and animals and everything that's growing around you, you can't but be hopeful. And so this is a season for hope. This is a season for reflection. This is a season for being thankful for all the blessings.
And it's almost 2021, whether you believe it or not. So
no, don't want to hear that now. So so
6
time
more
flies.
weeks.
I know, time flies. So thank you again for tuning in, and we'll hopefully have a couple more podcast episodes before the year is out. And so we appreciate all the support and the love, and we are indeed grateful for a lot of things. And so until next time,
Bye.
bye, and keep on growing.
Let's go down to the Urban Homestead, Pasadena.
We love to hear your feedback or questions. Visit us at urbanhomestead.org to check out what's happening on the homestead. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And until next time, keep on growing.
Loving the life back into the land.